Someone said that Elon Musk must have been through this simulation before, and he somehow got all of the cheat codes. You know what? Maybe he does. Maybe he does. He has that main character energy. But to me, that proves that the point of the game is not to win, but to play well. Actually, to me, simulation theory is a cop-out anyway. It's a convenient excuse to be a trash person because, nothing really matters. But it does matter. One very important point came up recently in my recent NPC video. These world events are often determined by just a few dominant personalities in a position of power. So we had Stalin and Hitler as examples from the last century. You should watch that video. I'll link it out in the bottom. It's very important. This concept of food for the moon is used to describe people who are sleepwalking through life. We call them NPCs. They become fuel for this larger purpose. Very important video. Quick summary, I deactivated my Twitter account, and today we're going to talk about why I understand that Twitter is necessary. But after the H-1B visa fiasco, I came to the realization that Twitter was making my day-to-day life much worse. And I'm going to use Twitter and not X because X can refer to a lot of things like, hey, my ex-boyfriend, XYZ as in etc., or person X to fill in the name. So X is just too vague. Twitter, okay? Just for the video. First, let me say some good things about Twitter. News breaks there. It doesn't happen on Facebook or Truth Social or on Instagram. You get eyewitness accounts within the hour of events happening anywhere around the world. I have been ready. Honestly, I've been ready to delete my Twitter for a while now. In fact, Elon buying Twitter actually kept me on the app longer, believe it or not. Before he bought it, Twitter was locked down by these moderators, these editors, the censors, and they actively suppressed information that was damaging to the Democratic agenda. I know that sounds like a conspiracy theory, but it's not. That actually happened. It's not right-wing hyperbole. Twitter officials actually conspired with the government officials, to suppress information related to COVID and Hunter Biden. It happened. That is a problem. Look up the Twitter files. It should have been a career-ending thing for a lot of people, but we live in these very bizarre times where no one is held to any standards for some reason. Careers end over these stupid little witch hunts like what happened to Al Franken, that takedown, and not actual ethics violations like conspiring with a private company to suppress information. Crazy. Anyway, after that, I said I would delete my Twitter when my baby was born. And then one night, it was a 3 a.m. nighttime feeding. I'm trying to get to sleep, and it was October 7th. Well, on the other side of the world. And I was watching live updates of the Hamas attacks. So we had dead bodies, kidnappings, crowds cheering for this carnage. If I hadn't been on Twitter, I might have fallen for that global gaslighting that happened immediately after that said Israel's attack of Gaza was unjustified. I'm like, no, bitch, I watched that shit live. I watched it live. The latest major story on Twitter is about the grooming gangs in the UK. And I'm not going to go into it here because that's not this video, but you can look it up and it is real. The UK police covered up abuse of young girls because they didn't want to seem racist. The perpetrators were South Asian, largely Pakistani, and the victims were white children. They were children. So to me, it does seem more racist to think that Pakistanis are incapable of following basic laws of decency and not molesting children. That's infantilization, but you know from dealing with the woke that they will infantilize every race that is not white, which means that they are racist to their core, in their hearts, and they're just covering up with this false compassion. We went over this. So the grooming gang news is honestly discussed on Twitter, and it's basically crickets everywhere else. So obviously I can't be against Twitter. I want it to be a free speech platform where people can go and find out the truth about these stories that the establishment press is not reporting honestly. They're spinning. It's called spin. However, you've got to sift through a lot of garbage on Twitter. Twitter is for news like Ross is for clothes. There's good stuff in there. There's good stuff, but a lot of it is just hideous outfits. 90% of Twitter is useless or false information. Some of it is outright lies, disinformation, or misinformation, so skewed. I've been a news junkie my entire life. It was my first major in college, but I switched because why would you major in journalism? Why would you do it? It's a trade, not a college major. And I rightfully decided that I would learn more about how to be a journalist by studying history and sociology than majoring in journalism. So what is the point of knowing how to write if you don't know what to write about? But that's not how the world works. It is not how the world works, at least not anymore. Nobody cares about quality anymore, and that's a fact. They don't care about the quality of the food. They don't care about the quality of the clothes or their tools. They certainly don't care about the quality of their entertainment. And the mainstream media has exposed itself. They have exposed themselves as the propaganda arm of the Democratic establishment. They did that during COVID, and they cannot be trusted. We saw you for what you really are. So of course I had to be on Twitter. Of course I had to be on Twitter. It had every news story in its raw form before the media could spin it. And I was honestly somewhat of an addict, somewhat of a news addict. I was a news addict before I was a Twitter addict. But how could I not be addicted to this train wreck that is modernity? And then, just like that, over this H-1B thing, the spell was broken. Just like that, Twitter lost all its charm. It's like being in love with a person one day, and then the next day, you're just not anymore. They're just a regular person again. So why would you drive 3 hours to see a regular person? They're not giving you that little drip of serotonin or oxytocin, whatever chemical that your brain used to give off when you saw them. That drip is gone. Such is Twitter for me. I got the ick, and once you get the ick, there is no going back. You shouldn't go back. Really, you shouldn't. So my latest, and hopefully my last Twitter obsession, was the H-1B MAGA civil war. I will sum up the H-1B debate for those of you who missed it. Trump's head of AI, upcoming, wants to lift the country cap for H-1B visas for skilled immigrants. These are not the genius visas. So it set off a firestorm because H-1B visa holders are often hired in lieu of Americans. So of course we need them. Of course we do, because we lack doctors willing to live in the foothills of Appalachia, and maybe Sanjeet from Mumbai will. God bless Sanjeet, because Billy, who grew up in Appalachia and then went to medical school, moved to Miami to get a big booty Latina and a Cybertruck. His grandmother, Billy's grandmother, would be dead if it weren't for Sanjeet. But there's a lot of fraud in the program. And companies do hire them instead of hiring Americans or training Americans or just giving Americans a shot. Or as Tesla did, very convenient, they fired a lot of American employees. In Tesla's case, employees showed up to work, and if their name card didn't work, that's how they found out they were fired.
I talked to, highly trained engineers and technicians who arrived at the Gigafactory in Nevada to a traffic jam, didn't know what was going on. Security guards were scanning their badges, and if the badge did not work, that was how you learned that you no longer had a job.
So apparently after that, Tesla hired a bunch of H-1B visa holders. Anyone defending that is a bootlicker, straight up. Elon said that Americans were too stupid to fill those jobs. I'm paraphrasing, of course. And he said, no joke, when asked, why don't you open a school to help train Americans to do these jobs? He said, if you have to train people, it's too late. He went on to call Americans retarded. And then Vivek Ramaswamy, who you know from before that I can't stand anyway, he added that our culture is fundamentally flawed. Vivek is a con artist, allegedly, who pump and dumped an Alzheimer's drug that he knew would fail. Allegedly. Vivek has not contributed to the United States at all. I don't care what the GDP says. Other captains of industry, like Patrick Bet-David, who himself got rich through a multi-level marketing scheme, allegedly, chimed in to agree with Vivek. American culture is cooked, and we cannot produce skilled workers. That's what they said. People want to spend time with their families, and they're not willing to work 80 hours a week. And so, because we want to spend time with our families, be decent parents, we should be replaced. Oh, and also, we should be having more kids. That's what they're saying. I did a whole video on this because, yes, Americans do need to focus more on school, but we have plenty of brilliant kids who just need a shot. Yes, you can train them. That is the dumbest thing I have ever heard in my life. And it makes me think that Elon may not be a genius. There are 330 million people in this country. The top 10% of that is still 33 million statistically intelligent people. So if our captains of industry can't figure out what to do with 33 million statistically intelligent people, maybe we need new captains. I actually shot and scrapped a whole video on this topic because it was so much minutia. But it came down to Vivek and Elon's arguments were actually nonsense. And if you want to invest in the American people, you really can. You should be smarter about it. Yes, Elon did eventually agree that the H-1B visa program needs to reform and that there is a lot of fraud, which has been proven. But Elon Musk isn't just some dude with contempt for Americans. He is the richest man in the world. He has bought our president, our upcoming president. He's threatened to primary any Republican who goes against his agenda. He has promised to cut a lot of government spending, and he has contempt for my people. That's a problem. And it's not just MAGA. He has contempt for all of us. And so does Vivek. They showed their true colors with this. They said that this was just a healthy debate, but it looks to me like the tech right wanted to break some campaign promises and they got called on it. So now they're calling it a healthy debate. All right. Remember when Elon was going on about how we don't need school to learn? This was many years ago. And I have to disagree with that heartily. Hard disagree on that. I think most people need structure to absorb complicated information. So coding, math, and science, this isn't really natural for us. Maybe in their most primitive form they are, but the really hard stuff takes focus and instruction. So we actually do need education. We need to reform it, but we actually need this education in this country. I actually like my country, and people ask why I support Americans despite everything my country did 200 or 50 years ago. And it's like, well, I live here, okay? You know, I'd have to be a psychopath to wish ill on people I see every single day. Like, hey, neighbor, I hope your kid gets addicted to fentanyl because of the My Lai massacre way back in Vietnam. That's actually insane. That's an insane thought. People do think like that. They just don't connect the dots to hating the country to what that means for the people in their day-to-day life. There's got to be some sort of disconnect there. But yes, I do want the best for us, and I do want the best for our children. I didn't watch the H-1B debate and giggle because Musk owned Americans. Like, not at all. Remember Trump promised us winning? He said, "You'll win so much your head will spin." Musk said that our country is like a sports team and we should win over everything else. I don't like professional sports because the talent doesn't come from the city. I like the Olympics. I watch the Olympics every 4 years. I love the Olympics. Musk was honest when he said that. He said that he would replace local talent like a sports team. And like a sports team, somehow our taxes will pay for it. Remember, we have other systems in place to poach exceptional talent. Not to rehash that video, which I scrapped, but I am not ashamed to say that every leader and every institution in this country should exist to better the lives of American citizens. That's my definition of winning. I will be the first to say that Americans should get preferential treatment when it comes to employment and housing. Saying otherwise, what Elon did was a major globalist psyop that he tried to pull on us. Preferential treatment for housing and employment is part of our social contract. The social contract, I've paid taxes my whole life, and my ancestors paid taxes their whole lives for us to be privileged within our borders. Unspoken in that is the government will try to help us and at least not conspire against us. Well, wanting to better your countrymen is DEI, these tech Republicans said. No, that's what a nation is. That's citizenship. We're supposed to pretend that a nation is meaningless, and we're supposed to laugh at anyone who wants to live in a nation, which MAGA does. They do. They're trying to rewrite the social contract right now. Watch them use this propaganda and slogans and also memes now to rewrite our assumptions. They'll use all kinds of slick talk from slick talkers like Vivek and Patrick Bet David to convince you that you believe 180 of what you were raised with. This meme explains this situation once again. This meme, once again, coming in. This is actually the most useful meme of the past 10 years because it happens to us over and over again. I'm sorry, but I'm a populist and I have never claimed to not be a populist. I don't speak any other language, and my cultural references all come from season 3 to 8 of The Simpsons. I'm not going to apologize for it either. I like me and I like my family, and I don't want us working 80-hour weeks so our Lord can have more flags in the Lord games. That is medieval shit. But we'll be winning. We'll be winning. What is that? What is winning? Okay, what is winning supposed to be to me? You just show me the copy of the GDP numbers while I'm eating ramen and $10 eggs? Oh my God, that number is so big. Wow, I don't care that I can't buy a house. This is the same stuff that Democrats tried to pull just before the election, and Trump and Musk called them out on it. And now it's okay? So what's winning? What does that do for me? They actually think we are stupid. They really think we are stupid. But, of course, the white nationalists came out against H-1B visas because they want an ethno-state, which is just another form of utopian thinking. It's impossible. Even if it were desirable, it is not possible. Animal Farm is grade school reading. So it's probably a little bit advanced for the white nationalists, but I'd suggest they read it anyway, okay? You're not going to get a white ethno-state, and if you do, your rulers will be even worse than the old rulers. So, of course, Elon came out strongly against the anti-Indian racism on his platform. And I'm sorry, I don't believe that the man who bought Twitter and turned it into a digital KKK rally is aghast at racism. Yeah, I don't buy it. Twitter is getting really racist because they scrapped the mods who kicked off the Nazis, or at least they hid the Nazis from everyone's page. Now they're on the For You page. I just thought that this was a consequence of free speech, but lo and behold, Elon Musk can moderate the site when it suits him. Would you look at that? Elon took the blue check marks from people who had attacked him, such as Laura Loomer, who had racist things to say about Kamala Harris's Indian half before all of this started. So forgive me for thinking Loomer's motives are not pure. Talking about the White House is going to smell like chicken curry if Harris is elected, as if that's not a major improvement. And I'm not mad at him for moderating the site, because we see what happens to sites that aren't moderated. A few negative trolls can really destroy a whole platform, but I am upset with how he selectively censored people to suit him. And it wasn't even that he censored Twitter that I decided to get off of it. The problem is that Twitter became too much of a reflection of Elon Musk's personal psyche. The topics he tweeted about were what's trending. There was gossip about what he likes, about his family, about his friends. The people he interacts with came up on my For You page, which is a new feature created by Elon so he can push his friends towards you. His tweets would come up in my feed, even when I asked specifically like 5 times to show less of them. Most of my knowledge of Elon Musk just comes from the Twitter ether. I call this non-consensual information, which I complain about a lot, but the personal details of Elon Musk have to be the biggest example of non-consensual information that I can think of, at least recently. Twitter just became so much Musk. You ever go over someone's house as a kid and you only hang out with them because they have the cool house, and if they didn't have the cool house, you wouldn't hang out with them? That's Elon Musk to me. That's Elon Musk to me. And then there were his friends like Ian Miles Chong. He's this Malaysian guy who's always on Twitter complaining and commenting about American politics. And I never followed him, never did. But he would just come up. This is a meme that somebody made. It's not a real picture, obviously, but it shows a larger truth about these two just inserting themselves into people's psyche through Twitter, through the medium that he bought, which is Twitter. Now, as far as Chong goes, I don't like people stirring chaos for clout. I just don't like it. In his case, he also gets paid off the platform, which means my attention on Twitter makes this guy's life better. And I don't want that. I don't want that. Not for me. Now, Trump eventually sided with Musk. He said that he uses H-1B visas on his golf courses and in his hotels, but he may have been confused with H-2B visas. Remember when they were ripping on Biden for getting confused, for having dementia? But Trump's not even in office and he can't grasp this simple visa issue. Now, he may just be saying this to keep Musk happy because Musk gave him so much money. But what happened to voting for the billionaire for president because he can't be bought? Remember, everyone's like, he can't be bought. He's already a billionaire. Well, apparently he can be bought. And it's not even for $1 billion. I think it was 277. Seems like there was a lot of the campaign, huh? That's crazy. Or you might say, Musk must have put a Neuralink in his brain, and that's why Trump sided with him. Regardless, it was a massive betrayal of their base. Massive betrayal. Watching Trump turn on his base is like watching your after-school bully get his ass beat by his father. At the time, it might feel good, but later you look back and you realize he did that boy dirty. He really did. It was wrong with what went down. MAGA is actually all about bringing jobs back to the United States, make America great again. And I never bought it from Trump because he's a con man, but his base bought it. His voters bought it. He promised everyone everything to get their vote, and now he's siding against them with the tech globalists, with the billionaires who make up his cabinet. I feel terrible for MAGA right now. See, Musk, Trump, everyone spent the whole campaign raging against immigration. Musk and Chong rage against European immigration as well. It's all on the front page of Twitter. It's all over Twitter. But they expect that if they flip a switch or sign a little piece of paper and make it legal, then it's going to be okay. Even if it goes against the ethos they pretended to support for years. Trump actually spoke against H-1B visas in 2016.
Right now, widespread abuse in our immigration system is allowing American workers of all backgrounds to be replaced by workers brought in from other countries to fill the same job for sometimes less pay. This will stop.
So immigration is bad unless they can profit off it. Apparently, this whole H-1B visa thing has been off-putting. Apparently, since I deleted my account, Musk has promised to make the platform more positive. A lot of people left Twitter like I left Twitter because it's just a drain. It's just a psychic drain. And he says he wants to change all that. But for me, it's too little too late. The magic is gone and I don't trust him. I just don't trust him. It takes a lot of trust to let the guards of your mind down. And that's what social media does. It feeds your brain, basically. So would you eat at a restaurant that got a C rating from the health department, or at a restaurant where the chef just got out of prison for poisoning someone? Of course you wouldn't. There's no trust there. Now, we're all fuel for these social media platforms, YouTube included. I'm here providing the content and you're providing the views. Our attention is the commodity. My effort, your attention. They just provide the platform. One important thing we have to remember is that we're bringing these IT specialists to build new AI and develop new apps and new platforms, improved platforms. And we should be asking, is that good for us? Is that a path we really want to go down? The AI is coming to replace us. The platforms are making us weaker. They're bringing us food and booze and pornography right to our fingertips. They are enabling our own destruction. I know nobody wants to hear about degrowth, but we really should question the direction our growth is going in. We should not seek to grow like a cancer or like the backstory to my 600-pound life. We should grow like a roided up actor preparing for a role. This is my dream for the country. It does seem like these platforms make people rich by skimming off the top of our vices. They just skim off the top of all of our vices, like gluttony, wrath, vanity, pride. It's our choice. We made these decisions, but they're enabling us. They're making it possible. And of course, a lot of the service tech sector is making our lives better, like Amazon. Amazon offers unmatched convenience, but the malls are dead, and the children are pale mole people who never leave the house. But it is more convenient. The mole children aside. Remember that Calhoun rat video I did? I'll actually link that at the bottom. And I liken social media to those rat paradises. Unlike rats, I think we can actually escape these social traps. But remember, those rats that were caught in the traps, they became antisocial and they stopped breeding. Now, those social traps are not unique to Twitter. That's all of social media, but it's especially true on Twitter. Look, I really do want to like Musk, okay? I agree with a lot of what he's doing. I also think we should go to Mars. Not because I think there's anything on Mars, but I think that we can't be content. I don't think humans can be content. We either go to Mars or we go to war with each other over which side of the egg to crack. Remember Gulliver's Travels? The Cold War wasn't over for 20 years before they started cutting all these little girls' tits off. So we can't have peace and stability. We just can't handle it. We will destroy ourselves. We'll just pick at ourselves like crackheads. So let's go to Mars. Let's put a fucking Dairy Queen on Mars. I don't care. Let's do it. Sure, Mars. Now, Musk is pro-family. I'm also pro-family, as you can see from my life choices if you've been following this channel. But he's not pro-family in a way that I understand at all. He's not pro-family. He's pro-procreation by any means. I don't like that. I don't think it's very well thought out. Like, what's the next step? After we have all these kids, are we going to raise them? Look, I don't trust his motives. I'll just be honest there. Okay, and there's nothing I have seen of his psyche from my time on Twitter that makes me trust him. I don't like that he's not willing to invest in the nation's youth. I don't like the people he's pushed to the top of the algorithm, himself included. I don't like his weird friend from Malaysia that's profiting off of all the chaos in this country. I don't like it. I don't like that he can't take criticism. I don't like him firing his workers in the most passive-aggressive way possible. I think he's suspicious, even by tech oligarch standards, and we have to be really, really careful of people in power like this. Now, before all of this, Bernie released a video on how Musk was interfering with Congress passing the budget, the spending bill.
There was widespread agreement on this resolution, and it was just about ready to be passed. In fact, the Republicans posted it on their website. We were ready to go. But then, out of nowhere, the wealthiest man in the world, Elon Musk, began tweeting his opposition to this legislation. In fact, he was very blunt about it. He told Republicans that if they voted for this proposal, which they had already agreed to do, he would take out his wallet and spend as much money as it took to defeat them in primaries and drive them out of office. You got that? Take a deep breath and appreciate what's going on here. The wealthiest person in the world, who spent at least $277 million to elect Donald Trump in a Republican Congress, has now claimed complete ownership of that party.
I really don't like an unelected foreigner interfering with Congress, which is elected. I want my sociopaths born here. The fact that people even tolerate Musk's interference with Congress, which is elected, by the way, is evidence he's got everyone under some kind of spell, or more accurately, a psyop, an extensive propaganda campaign. Twitter is Musk's propaganda platform. One time I called Elon Musk a necessary evil, and someone in the comments gave me grief for it. He's done all of this. How could you say that about him? How could you call him evil? Doesn't even understand the phrase. But the events of the past few weeks have shown me that we will be lucky if he is a necessary evil, because the worst case scenario is he makes our lives much worse without making it much better. Yes, Twitter is still on the desktop in case someone comes to me with a story and I have to check it out, but it's not on my phone and I don't go to it very often. It's just there because, like I said before, it has a lot of good things associated with it. But I just don't need that. I don't know if I need any social media anymore. I'm looking at getting one of those dumb phones. In fact, I'm going to go with 2 cans and a string in between. Let's go all the way back to that. I'm done with it all. Anyway, if you liked this video, definitely check out my video on mind viruses and online radicalization. We talk about Watiko in that one. Check out the Calhoun rat video. That's very important. And definitely check out the cult of MAGA. Thank you. Subscribe.